Thank the Force. We are live on Star Wars Newsnet Live on this Thursday night at 10 o'clock Eastern Time with a Star Wars celebration live stream going on next to me. Guys, we are 771 days away from Star Wars Starfighter starring Ryan Gosling. Just one of the fun things we are going to talk about this evening. We have some looks from Pedro in the suit, thanks to our guys, Val and Miguel, who are at the panel right now. We might actually have a couple more people that were inside the panel, but we have people there, so we have some pictures from that. There's some other stuff obviously going around the interwebs. The Star Wars account dropped some stuff for us, so it's going to be a blast to tune in to this show tonight, because I have a lot to say. Like, there is so much to talk about. I'm sure that you guys are as excited as I am that we have a release date for a movie post Mando and Grogu, a production timeline in place, like it is happening this fall. Sean Levy was there. It came from him. This is so exciting. This is a good time to be a Star Wars fan. We are just we are 5 days away from Andor Season 2. All of these things are happening at once. It is the place to be tonight here. Luke, how are we doing? Tom, it's good to see you. What's the vibe from both of you right now?
I think we're riding a high. This is I mean, I couldn't say it any better. This is a great time to be a Star Wars fan with kind of like a lull behind us. We've got two movies that we know release dates for, supposed release dates for. So it's fantastic. I couldn't be happier, you know. I feeling good.
Well, I could be a little happier. I'm gonna get into it. I could definitely be a little happier. They got some bones to pick with Disney, so absolutely. But Tom, initial vibe check here.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I was expecting an announcement or more information just about Mandalorian and Grogu, but to actually get a new Star Wars movie announced, finally, I know with all the rumors behind Sean Levy working on a movie, and in the past, I know there's been a lot of cynicism with movies that have been announced by Lucasfilm, but we actually have two release dates, which is actually, for me, it inspires a lot more confidence than in the past.
They came out with a Rogue Squadron release date in the past, but this one feels different because, you know, you had Levy there, and Ryan Gosling's not walking out on that stage unless this thing is locked and loaded, ready to go.
Yeah, he brings a lot of weight to the project. So I'm really excited. And also we got confirmation that, well, not just that, but that the movie is taking place after Episode 9, which is interesting. A lot of undiscovered territory. Who could be coming back for this movie is interesting. And also that the other movies that are still on target, as far as Taika Waititi's movie, was also confirmed as being still in the works.
Oh, yeah.
A trilogy by Simon Kinberg. So it's very exciting. A lot of great stuff.
They confirmed that the Charmin Obeid-Chinoy film, Taika Waititi film, Simon Kinberg trilogy, and the James Mangold film are all still in development. Now, that doesn't even mean we're ever going to see those things, but it is important to note that they mentioned those, like things like Lando, which I have long said now for years that we will never ever see. And that wasn't mentioned, you know, on the stage, but these things were at least mentioned, or like the infamous Rian Johnson trilogy that is supposed to be, you know, somewhere out there. They have these discussions, you know, that was not one of the things mentioned, but to have feel comfortable at least saying that went a long way for me. I want to begin, though. I have to just get this out off my chest. Like, I have to get this out of the way before we get into all the exciting things, because there's a lot to be excited about if you are a Star Wars fan tonight. And, you know, of course, there's reasons for skepticism, but I have to get this rant out, and I hope that you will bear with me for a minute. It is unbelievably stupid to not live stream these major panels, especially if you're going to drop little clips from your main account on what's happening at the panel. Just go ahead and put the whole thing out there. Let people experience this. You're not losing absolutely, you're not losing anything at all. To me, it just reeks of greed, laziness, somewhat of exclusivity, which Star Wars shouldn't have. Like, Star Wars shouldn't be this who's who of who can afford to go to Japan, or who got flown out to Japan to be able to go. Like, that's not what Star Wars is all about. I remember one of my most vivid Star Wars memories is 2019 Star Wars Celebration Chicago, the Rise of Skywalker panel. We didn't know it was the Rise of Skywalker panel at the time, and I was watching with some of my friends. It was my senior year of college, skipped class that I was supposed to give a final presentation for. To hell with that. And just to watch this panel with two of my best buds. Luke was FaceTimed in because he couldn't be there. And when Palpatine laugh hit on that trailer, and then Ian McDiarmid came out, we were screaming at the TV. Like, this was a moment of great excitement for us that I will never forget. And there's the arguments, and this is a Disney thing from what I have gathered from what some people have told me, is this is a Disney thing, not necessarily a Star Wars or a Lucasfilm thing. Like, they possibly could all be on the same mindset, but I think there is absolutely no sense in if we were to stream all of this, then we are, maybe people won't be as incentivized to come if they could just sit and watch back. That's just bullcrap. Like, I watch those things and I am even more excited. Like, I need to be there in that room and experience that. When I'm watching the NBA playoffs this weekend and I'm watching my Oklahoma City Thunder play, I'm not less excited to be less prone to maybe spend money to go to a basketball game just because I can sit on my couch and watch it. I see the crowd. I see what's going on. It makes me want to be a part of that. And that's what these events should be. They should be about, how do we create the most buzz, the most excitement for Star Wars possible? And the best way to do that is to peel back the curtain and let people be a part of the fan experience as much as they can. And I'm glad they have the live stage. I'm glad they do things there. But you could easily live stream most of this panel and then even pull back just a little bit if you wanted to. But it to me, it's frustrating beyond all get out that these images and photos and videos, they're going to come out anyway. So why not get ahead of that and at least get all of that content streaming towards your platforms and what you're wanting to do? Anyway, sorry, rant's over. It just angers me that I'm having to still look at grainy photos of Rotta the Hutt that we're going to talk about in a minute, instead of Star Wars just being like, yeah, you know what? This is for everyone.
Right. Tyler, you're preaching to the choir, buddy. Some of my best memories of celebrations, I would take work off, to see those movie panels during the sequel trilogy. Actually, if you search the interwebs, you may find or may not find a Rise of Skywalker trailer reaction by me and my family. We'd sit and watch, and they're so cringy because we were so excited. And to share that moment together, and when that title was announced, we were so excited, and you see it in our face, so much so that in the comments people thought it was fake because we were going crazy. So yeah, I totally agree. Actually, last Celebration, there was a questionnaire, I think, that Lucasfilm, Disney sent out about ways that they could improve. And that was the first thing that I put, that they should live stream all the panels. Like you said, it's very exclusive to get into that room, first of all. So many Star Wars fans here that can't make it to Japan. So
or even that are in Japan that can't get into the panel. Like, there's thousands of people there.
The panel selection is just so poor. You could spend all the money, the crazy amount of money, to get there and get inside, and still not even get into any panel, let alone the one that you really want to. I think that's where I'm the most upset with how the selection process works. It's kind of just random number generation.
Anyway, so get it out of my chest. All right, we can move on and talk about all the fun things. So do you guys want to focus on, I've gone through all those stages in the last couple of hours here of fear leads to anger leads to hate leads to suffering. Thankfully, though, like, I moved beyond my suffering after, a few moments, just because there's a level of excitement that goes on. And Ryan Gosling and Sean Levy are now on the live stage. So that's
Yes.
exciting. So I have it pulled up here. Like they're on the live stage. They're about to talk about their movie. So I'm sure they're not going to say anything crazy, I'm sure, but I have the thing pulled up here in case they do go ahead and say anything. But let's go ahead and break down what we know, because they're not going to say anything that it's going to be breaking news that they didn't say on this panel, essentially. But this is going to be an all new original story. It's from Sean Levy, all new, just original characters. He said this is not a prequel. This is not a sequel. This is an original story in a brand new part of the timeline post Rise of Skywalker. And that is incredibly exciting. This is going to be fresh. Having this Starfighter on there makes this feel like this is going to be fast paced. This is going to be energetic. You're going to feel the presence of Levy and how he approaches like films like these. And Ryan Gosling might be the perfect, partner in crime for him. So just initial glance, how does he feel about the aesthetic? Like, what's Star Wars Starfighter? Like, how does that feel for you as a Star Wars fan? May 28th, 2027, 50-year anniversary. This is our 50th anniversary film. Like, how do you feel about, all of those like little factors? And then we can, even get into what we think the Starfighter could even mean. Well, we know what it means.
I think it's kind of perfect. Seeing as this is going to be a Starfighter centric movie, George Lucas with American Graffiti, and like he was such a like hot rod type of like go fast, rule of cool like type of guy. Like this is very Star Wars at its core. We don't know anything about it. We haven't seen anything, but like this is what like one of his main things was. And also like the silos of the Star Wars fandom where it's like, I like the Jedi the most. I like, this the most. There's like a big Starfighter like fandom. There's whole books about these. There's whole book series. There's video games and everything. Like Starfighters in general, this is gonna be a hit. Like this is something they haven't tried before, that they haven't done before. So I'm excited to see what this is even going to look like.
Fair.
I'm really excited.
For me, I was totally blown away. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know we were going to get this kind of announcement. They usually do the movie panels on the first day, but this was billed as a Mandalorian and Grogu panel, so I didn't really expect anything. When I first heard the title, I don't know how impressed I was. It sounded to me like a video game.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to think, but I think what Luke was saying and how it matches kind of the Sean Levy energy as far as what it could be at having Ryan Gosling in it. I'm excited to see what they're going to do. I think, maybe if they, Sean Levy puts a lot of personality into his movies. So maybe something that's a little bit of a change of pace from Star Wars that doesn't take itself too seriously. Almost similar to like Solo was in a way. So it's very exciting. There's so many, like we said, it's in this time period after the Rise of Skywalker. We don't know anything about what's going on in the galaxy. We don't know about the aftermath of the Battle of Exegol too much. So I don't know, in my heart, I'd love to see some returning characters, but I don't know if they're just going to go in a different direction with this. So it's very exciting to see as this develops. And they're going into production this fall, so hopefully we'll get more information.
So here's my three main takeaways. Number one, the title, like Manslayer says here in the chat, is fairly modest, just having Star Wars Starfighter. However, the more I sit with just a title like Starfighter, I do want to say like that gives me a level of confidence that there is something so simplistic about it that I think will be appealing as we get further in. Like Starfighter is coming out, this year. It's not Star Wars and then like some long title that we have to. There's going to be some level of simplicity of like, oh, Starfighter. Like that's just something that I think will resonate. Like everyone will kind of know what this movie's about as we move forward into a brand new part of the timeline. So having Gosling with just the name Starfighter next to it, where it's seemingly, not to project into what we don't know at this point, but seemingly like some sort of pilot centric Rogue Squadron like film perhaps that could be taking place in the sequel era. And I think that you get your point across pretty easily there. And having Gosling, everywhere for this is going to help as well. But a second thing for me that I like is I don't know if we're gonna see a lot of characters that we really know of. This seems like this is gonna be a standalone movie, but not dip its toes into like bringing a Rey or a Finn around. And I'm actually pretty excited about that. I think there is a level of when I hear all new original characters, everything's brand new. They did mention Charmine's movie is in development. Give me even more anticipation and wait for the next time I'm going to see, a bunch of Jedi on my screen, like Rey, or if they bring back a John Boyega. Maybe this buys them time to try to work something out with a John Boyega to come back for, another like episode 10 like story with Rey in the future. But you can easily work in references to Master Skywalker, like Master Rey Skywalker, or talking about a Jedi named Finn, different things like that post Rise of Skywalker to give us little tidbits about what they're up to that could, lead to that Rey movie 10 years after that, because the rumor is like 15 years set after the Rise of Skywalker. So there's like little tidbits that you can do to like kind of lay the foundation for what a Rey movie looks like in the future without having to say, we're bringing all these people in. Now, if someone like that were to come back, sure, fine. I'm all about that, but I don't think we need to. And the idea of our first Star Wars experience outside of something like Mando and Grogu, which is our soft launch back in the theaters, the idea of our first Star Wars experience being something that is 100% fresh and original and brand new. We do not have to worry about everything. Not only does that really excite me as a fan, but I think if Mando and Grogu does as well as I think it will at the box office, going a year later into a new Star Wars era like this, it's going to be a really good barometer test for what original Star Wars draws. Like, what does this do? Because this is not going to have, any Skywalker type thing attached to it. What does that look like at the box office is going to be fascinating to watch in 771 days. So that's something I want to keep my eye on as well. But
yeah, and I think the names
thrilled.
attached to it, I think will bring people in. And I'm
Mhm.
hoping, like when you said, judging by the title, how much room for people like Rey and Finn are maybe locked into this. Maybe, I mean, if you want to stretch, maybe Poe, as far as if we're going to be talking about starfighters. So that's going to be interesting to see. And like you said, I think you're kind of changing my mind a little bit. Yeah, it probably would be good to take a break and start with something fresh. And if we establish some of the, I guess, rules or the history of that timeline, it may segue better into the new Jedi Order movie. So I agree with you there.
No, I like the idea of anyone coming back. Like Poe would be a great fit for this if it's some starfighter. And it reminds me like of the Rogue Squadron books, like by Michael Stackpole, where it follows Wedge, after the Rise of Skywalker. Not that, this is Gosling's movie, but if there were to be a sequel character coming into play, like Poe Dameron having some sort of overarching role as Black Squadron leader, and what does Black Squadron, look like 5-6 years after the big battle of the galaxy. That would be something like interesting to, from my perspective, that would be interesting to see in like a similar way that those books, like Wedge kind of became, the squadron leader, and he was handling all of that stuff post Return of the Jedi. Could Poe be doing something like that at this time? But we don't even need to see him very much. Maybe just a quick, shot of him here, quick cameo, or, we could talk about, General Dameron or something like that, where Gosling, you pay homage to that and you give that credibility to the sequels that, a post, Rise of Skywalker movie needs.
How great is it to have them both? Like if we had Oscar Isaac and Ryan Gosling in this movie.
Yeah. I'm already theorizing. I think that what would be fun is if Ryan Gosling's character spends this whole movie really getting built up into becoming a really great pilot, so that by the end he's made a name for himself and he gets the call up to fill in Snap Wexley's spot in Black Squadron. So now he's playing with the big dogs. Like, he went on this whole journey through Starfighter, and now he's ready to step up into Black Squadron.
Well, I'm excited to see what his backstory is going to be. Is he like is he a good guy on the side of whatever
he's a bad person,
like governing body exists? You know, not like a bad person from the standpoint of he's evil, but is he a Han Solo, like he's a scoundrel like guy that's, he does what he wants? Like, was Gosling's character, was he at the Battle of Exegol? Like, is this something, like, is he a part of the people that was doing that, or is there going to be some guilt about that and he's now trying to step up later on because he didn't take part of the big fights at Exegol? It's gonna be fascinating to see what developments come from this. I love that they went ahead and just said production for this begins in the fall, and we have a production timeline, because just having all of the, I don't think we can understate how relieving it is to feel that as a Star Wars fan after all of the nonsense we've been through with anything not attached to Mando, with Jon Favreau, to have that comfortability of seeing both Gosling and Levy on stage saying production begins this fall, we've locked it in, and to know that we have the release date and a movie title, like all 5 of those things being lock and step ready to go, is so relieving, because it feels like this is going to be the one that actually works.
Yeah, there's been too many projects that have come and gone that never made it out of the development stage. So to hear this, that there's a planned development here in the fall, it really brings a level of like confidence back that I've been sorely missing from something that is, like you said, that is not attached to Mando and Grogu. I love the Mandalorian. I love Grogu. I love that whole like Mando verse we've got going on. But I'd also like something outside of that too. And this is really kind of scratching that itch.
Yeah, and they like took, I guess they did their homework. They knew that so many people and so many fans were complaining about that, and not just the fans, so many people that were watching the releases, and I'm sure Disney stepped in and wanted it to be this way. They wanted a plan in place. They wanted to have something to look forward to on the horizon, but not just look forward to, something rolling. It's been 6 years since the last Star Wars film.
It's been a long time, and we're feasting right now. We got Mando Grogu coming up, Andor in a few days, but so let's go ahead and talk Mando and Grogu. There was some awesome things that were already dropped. Like, we got this picture of Pedro in the suit on set. So we know that he will be spending some time. I don't think he flew all the way to Hollywood for this just to take a picture in the suit and then fly back to wherever he was before. So he definitely is going to be spending some time in the suit, which makes me really excited that we're going to see Pedro's face in the Star Wars film. And the fact that he was on stage to promote it, he could have very easily not have been there with everything else he has going on right now. It makes me very confident that we're going to see Pedro's face in this, which elevates the gravity of the story to a whole new stratosphere. Talk about that. There's this shot here of the AT-ATs. This, if you watch the grainy trailer from Disney D23 Brazil, you saw, this little scene right here. I've seen it on my phone 1,000 times at this point, but this shot is just awesome. The fact that there is not 1, not 2, but 3 AT-ATs there, and they're firing it. Mando on the AT-RT coming down the mountain. This is exciting. We have Mando and Zeb together here, which is a whole new level of awesomeness. We know they're going to fly out, and the little Grogu there. We know that Sigourney Weaver is she's going to be in a cockpit at some point. Like, she's wearing the flight suits. And we also got to look at His Royal Highness Rotta the Hutt as well. Tom, which angle do you want to start with? We're going to get into all these angles here. Which one do you want to start with first? We can talk about Pedro being on set, what this could mean for the story of the movie. We obviously have, the plots going on with the AT-ATs. We could talk about Sigourney Weaver's role. We could talk about Rotta the Hutt. Zeb, where do you want to begin? Because there's so much to get into.
I want to start with Pedro being on set. That makes me really excited because I feel like in the 3 seasons of Mandalorian that we got, whenever he would take his helmet off, and I know he's not supposed to anymore, but whenever he would take it off, it was always a powerful touchstone moment in the series. So I'm excited to see what goes on. If maybe, I don't know, if he changes, if something happens, he has to take his helmet off. He has to actually, you know, to see his face is just so great. I feel like in season 3, I miss seeing him in it. You know, I know it's his voice, but it just was really missed in the series, I feel.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
There's the best and most pivotal moments of The Mandalorian are when he takes the helmet off. Every single time.
Absolutely.
The best moment of season 1 is when he takes it off for IG, 11 to save him. And the best moment of season 2, in my opinion, is not the goodbye sequence at the very end, although that's up there, but it's in episode 7 when he takes it off for him to be scanned so he can get the destination of, Moff Gideon's cruiser. Like, every time he takes the helmet off, it elevates what I'm watching beyond just this is the fun show to, this is deep, this is drama, this is gritty, from the standpoint of his guy is willing to risk everything for his son. And it's always centered around Grogu. And so Pedro being on set, I've said for a while, I would be hard pressed to believe he didn't want his face to be in a Star Wars movie. And so at the other standpoint, think about all the things that he's had going on for the last few years. And when he has going on, it'd be very easy for him if the story was going to go one way and his schedule's going this way to just kind of be like, oh, do the voice and record some lines and we'll move on from there. But Luke, in terms of the Pedro being there on set and possibly, obviously not confirmed or anything, but like possibly taking off his helmet in this, what does that do for your excitement level knowing that he spent time there, physically there, and then to take the time to go to Celebration for this?
It unquestionably makes me more excited. I'm a Star Wars fan, die hard, so like I'm gonna be excited for this movie, but to know that he very likely will be showing his face in this movie, that's huge for me because I fully admit, make fun of me if you want, like I didn't really know who he was before I learned that there's this show called The Mandalorian coming. He's going to be portraying this character. Then I was like, oh, interesting, Pedro Pascal. He's now on my radar. And over these past, since 2019 when he came onto my radar, he has been destroying like Hollywood. Like he's been in so many things. He's been so good in so many things. So I've come to really like him and really love him. He's got, The Last of Us out right now. Fantastic Four. He's going to be in this. And so it's like he's been making such a name for himself. And so now that he's going to be really, really in a Star Wars movie,
right?
I get to be like, I'm championing, like he's in my thing too. Like he truly isn't, he's not just doing voice lines. He's really there. So I couldn't be more excited for that. I think that's going to make the movie a lot better.
My favorite Pedro Pascal role, though, is have you seen the massive or the unbearable weight of massive talent with him and Nicolas Cage? Have you seen that movie? Have you seen that, Tom?
I haven't seen it. I have to see that. I've been loving him in The Last of Us.
That movie is so funny. Like, it is the funniest movie I've seen in so long. I don't laugh out loud a lot when I watch like comedies or sitcoms. Like I laugh to myself a little bit. In fact, Janelle, every time like we're watching, one of our shows is Abbott Elementary right now, and she will just laugh. She's like, Tyler, why aren't you laughing? Like, don't you think this is funny? Like, I said, no, I think it's hilarious. I'm just not laughing out. That movie had me busting out laughing. It's so good. You should watch it. But Pedro being there is so exciting. I think even him just being at Celebration confirms to me that he really does care about this project. Like, I'm sure he got paid a fat sum of money to be there. I'm sure. But there's, when you look at the spectrum of Star Wars people that are at Celebration this week, it's not a massive list in terms of like the A-list crowd. And they could have easily brought Weaver out for this, flown, maybe they could get Katie Sackhoff there or some other members of the cast. Or, you could easily just have Weaver come out as a surprise and then just have Filoni and Favreau there to pitch it. And that's it. Like, you don't need Pedro there. You could have, if he's just doing voiceover lines. So the fact that he's there, he cares enough to want to be there, even if he's got this ridiculous like pants thing going on here. Like, I don't know what the hell that is, but with the boots,
makes it work somehow.
He it's all about, how you carry yourself, and Pedro carries himself in a way that he could wear anything up there, and I would just be like, yeah, that looks great. But I'm so excited. I would like to talk, unless you guys want to talk a little bit more about Pedro in the suit, I would love to talk about Sigourney Weaver's role in this movie. It's been pitched as she's working with the New Republic. She's working with, Mando a little bit here, but having her, in the flight suit, like the Rebel, flight suit, that was interesting to me because based off what we had heard about her character so far, I wasn't getting, her in the cockpit flying around in an X-Wing vibes, but we're talking about one of the premier, female like action stars of all time. It makes sense that she would be, a kick-ass, I'm going to get back in there. And there might be a story here of her having been a pilot in the Rebellion. And that seems like there could be a little bit more depth to her story than we previously thought.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting her to have a role as like a senator in the New Republic or someone high up in the government. It would be mostly like a Mon Mothma type role. But to see her in a flight suit is really exciting for the possibilities. I mean, at this time period, she could have fought in the Battle of Endor or some of the other original trilogy battles. So this is really exciting. I'm really curious about her character.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's Luke, do you think that we're going to see, like, could this be like flashbacks of what she was like? Could we have like these indoor flashbacks of her, in a big battle for the rebellion? Or do you think it's focusing solely on this time period right here? Like, how are they going to introduce who this character is, why she matters, her importance? It'll probably be something fairly quick, but I'm really fascinated to see her in the cockpit one way or another.
I'm thinking she's maybe the highest ranking pilot in this time period. I'm not envisioning a lot of flashbacks going on, but that'd be cool. But I'm kind of thinking since Zeb is a little bit more focused and more associated with the New Republic, I'm thinking maybe Zeb's boss is Sigourney Weaver. Like that's who he reports to, or maybe even like above them. So I'm thinking like they'll have to call in like the big guns for whatever this like battle's going to be in this movie. Like the big conflict is like, listen, we need all the pilots we can get. We need the best ones we can get. And it's like, well, how about that? She just shows up and she's got her like A-wing, B-wing, X-wing, whatever. Like it's cool as hell.
What about pitching the idea that one of these Imperial warlords or this member of the Shadow Council that they're going after, what if we pitch the idea here that that was her old nemesis from the rebellion days against the Empire, and as Mando, she sends Mando and Grogu out to kind of go uncover, this little cell of Imperials. Maybe it starts off small, like, hey, we need you to go do this small job with him and Zeb. And then they uncover who might be behind this. And suddenly it gets personal for her. She's like in their cushy desk job, trying to help the New Republic go on. But Weaver just seeing her maybe on some sort of like, this is personal. This is like a vendetta. Like I was head to head against this person. Like we've gone, battle for battle in the rebellion. And I was never able to take this Imperial out or bring, this Imperial to justice, and maybe going that route. And that's how she gets involved. I think knowing how much intensity Weaver brings to like her projects, that could be like a really great role for her. Almost this, I've been working at the desk, I'm getting out of the desk back into the X-Wing for this, because this is personal. This is back classic rebellion versus Empire, but in a future role here, obviously, because we're several years past Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi at this point.
I love it. Maybe she's even Nora Wexley. She Snap's mom. She's going to be going against
What's
Admiral
your deal
Sloan.
with Snap Wexley today? Like I don't think I've ever heard you talk about Snap Wexley more than once or twice in my life, and you brought him up twice on the same live stream. Like, what's going on? Have you just been reading some?
Well, I've been writing no, I'm kidding.
He
I
said,
did.
I am writing the Snap Wexley novel.
Fan fiction.
I did finish the Poe Dameron comics this year, and he's a pretty major part of that. So
Okay, but this year, as in the last couple months, or like the last 12 months, you finished the Poe
the
Dameron?
last couple months, I did finish finally that comic series. So,
so you got Wexley. Snap Wexley is your character.
he's really cool. He's a really cool guy. Gotta say.
He's a
Also,
fun
he's
guy.
he's in a couple of different books I've read. So, yeah.
Okay.
Did they officially announce her name? The name of her character?
I didn't see that. I was looking to see if we could find that. I don't think we have an official announcement. It's possible she said it in the panel, but we didn't get something from, like, Miguel's there. He's been updating the chat, but also updating the article. I don't think he said that she mentioned a name. Maybe we get that in a trailer that could re-release tomorrow. Like, Weaver and Pascal are both supposedly appearing on Good Morning America tomorrow, where the rumor is that the initial trailer is going to be revealed, and we could have that answer as soon as tomorrow. If there's like, oh yeah, I'm playing a new character called so-and-so, and they do this, and boom, there's the trailer with both of them in it. So it's possible we could have that answer as soon as tomorrow and talk about very soon. But as of right now, I don't think that we have a name for her. I hope it's some killer name. What do you guys have a favorite Weaver movie personally, or?
I think for me it was Aliens.
Oh yeah,
love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love the first one too, but there was something about her performance in Aliens that, as far as making her name as an action movie star when there weren't a lot of female action movie stars,
right?
She was amazing in that.
What about you, Luke?
Is she in Avatar?
Oh yeah, right. I mean, she
right.
In many ways, she is Avatar in a lot of ways, because she's the scientist that created the program, and then it's the weird thing where she's what's her face? She's the child Avatar, like she voices that who's like her daughter. It's interesting. Right. It's interesting.
Yeah, I do like her in that role. I like those movies a lot.
Mm-hmm. I would have to go with Tom on this and say Aliens. Like, I love the first Alien movie, is so good, but there is something about Aliens that it's like one of those rare moments where you do almost the same thing in a lot of ways. Like, she's kind of going against, Alien by herself. She's going against the xenomorph and does a lot of the same concepts. A lot of just jump scares inside a ship. But for whatever reason, it just feels so much bigger and better the second time. And I'll tell you what, too, like, this was a Ridley Scott thing, but that movie absolutely holds up in 2025 today. Like, that movie, I watched it last year before I went to see Alien Romulus. I did like a binge of a lot of Alien movies, and I didn't watch Prometheus. It was the only one I didn't watch. But that movie holds up. It's the best looking one of the bunch. And, Weaver's awesome on that. So I can't wait to see this. Sydney said the rumor from a couple months ago was Colonel Bishop. So Colonel Bishop, which I remember now. Thank you, Sydney. I appreciate that. So who knows if that's going to be confirmed or not, or if that's real. How do we feel? Does Colonel Bishop feel like a Sigourney Weaver name? Does that pop to you?
Getting back to it, it could be a cool callback to Aliens, because that was the name of the android, Bishop, correct?
Oh my gosh.
So I think that might be, if that rumor is correct, it might be a sly callback to her role in Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like that.
I love this. So let's go ahead and talk about it. All right, deep breaths. Deep breaths, Luke, deep breath there. I need the deep breath. His Royal Highness himself, Rotta the Hutt with massive biceps, absolute cinema.
I can't wait for the memes.
There's gonna be so many memes. I'm gonna throw this to Luke, because Luke is like the Galupshido like king and everything. Like this man will be having a random conversation and he'll drop a Star Wars character. And obviously, like a lot of people know who Rhoda is because of the Clone Wars movie, but he'll drop a Star Wars character out of nowhere that I will have to go Google search on Wikipedia. And I feel like I know so many Star Wars characters, but we have Rhoda in the gladiator ring with massive biceps, and a lot of people are going to roll their eyes at this and be like, what are we doing here? However, and I want to know all of Luke's Rhoda takes. But
Oh, gosh.
however, to me, this movie, having someone like Rotta the Hutt feels so Mando and Grogu coded. Like somehow this guy would end up in the way of Mando and Grogu, where it's another one of those situations where we all know who this is, and this is kind of crazy. And Mando's like, who the heck is this guy? Like, I don't know who any of these people are. Like, he's going around the galaxy interacting with these massive characters. Like, I have no idea. I just kind of hunt people down for a living. And this movie, I think, is going to have all of the seriousness of the Empire. But when you can also do something wacky and fun, that feels like Mando and Grogu to me. Like, you have some serious, but this is also going to be just kind of wacky fun. But Luke, give me all the lowdown here on Rotta the Hutt. Tell me everything that I need to know about Rhoda and why I should be excited for him and his massive biceps.
I will say you made a good point that the Hutt, this like feels like it's pretty Mando and Grogu coded. I like that phrase because even those the Hutt twins that were in the Book of Boba Fett, like there's this whole thing with this universe that's going on that is kind of inextricably tied to the Hutts. So I like that this is popping up again. I like that kind of Din Djarin's like trope is that he is interacting with legendary person Ahsoka. He's Bo-Katan, all these people he's meeting and is like, I don't really care who you are. I don't know who you are. I'm just kind of like passing through. And us viewers get to be
He's like the Forrest Gump of
yeah. We're like,
Star
dude, do you know who you're talking to? And he's like, no, and also I don't care. So he's kind of cool for that. He's gonna meet Rhoda. And so Rotta the Hutt, the son of Jabba, has been saved by Ahsoka Tano and the 501st and Anakin's, company. So this character canonically knows who Ahsoka is, and I don't know if they remember it or not, but they've been through the Clone Wars. They've been through, this entire galactic civil war. I can't imagine this person is a very good person, this Hutt.
Whoa. You're telling me the son of Jabba the Hutt that we see right here in all of his ripped glory in a gladiator ring where he probably just ripped the head off another human being or alien creature is not a good person? Guaranteed? You're willing to make that commitment right now over a year away from the debut of this film?
I'm going to say this is probably a villainous character that you're not supposed to root for, but I think we're all going to be in the theater and we're going to be going, let's go.
We're supposed to be hyped up when this guy inevitably grabs some Rhodian that's running past him and he just snaps him like in half, similar to, maybe we see the way the Mountain just absolutely smashes Pedro Pascal's head in Game of Thrones. Like he's gonna do something like that on the gladiator stage, and Mando's gonna like cover up Grogu's eyes for a moment or something when they need him for information. I think it's gonna be like a quick in and out thing with Rhoda. I don't think he's gonna be a main part of the storyline. But Tom, you were there in 1983 when Jabba the Hutt first graced our TV screen or movie screens. So now we are seeing the legacy of Jabba live on in another movie. How do you feel about that?
It's great. I remember being in the theaters opening day for Return of the Jedi in 1983. And when you first see Jabba, it was just this big, like, whoa, like the audience let out this giant, like, reaction. We've never seen anything on that scale, that kind of puppet and everything. So we, as you recall, at that point, the Jabba the Hutt scene wasn't in A New Hope.
Right.
So this was the first time we were seeing him. Now, there was obviously some promotional material that you maybe saw who he was, But when
Right.
that first on the big screen, seeing that for the first time, there was a electric feel in it, like people just, whoa, what the heck is that? Menacing and huge. So this is going to be pretty amazing. But isn't it? I guess it's also true. I don't know if it's confirmed yet, but wasn't it said that Jeremy Allen White would be playing Rotta the Hutt?
Yes. Yes.
So I find that
And
interesting.
I feel like they confirm it's been fairly confirmed. I don't know if they said that on the stage, but absolutely. And my big problem is, and this is me just being a like kind of a DC nerd, is every time about to say Jeremy Allen White, I always say Barry Allen White, and it's for no reason. Like it's not like for no reason at all. It's just it's where my mind almost goes. So when you said Jeremy Allen White, I went, well, what you mean Barry? Like our guy Barry? Like
The
John
Flash.
Rhoda the Hutt's about to enter the Speed Force here
Right.
in Star Force. He's gonna be the first Hutt to max out at 2 miles per hour.
But it's interesting to see what the hierarchy is with the Hutt clan, because in Book of Boba Fett we're introduced to the twins. What is Rhoda's position in, I guess, during the New Republic? We know that the underworld is kind of resurging. There's really not as much, I guess, control or oppression by the Empire. So some of the elements of the underworld have been able to kind of flourish a bit. And being that it's Mandalorian, he has probably connections with all of these, he has friends in low places, basically. So interesting to see how that comes into the story.
So I have 2 theories for Rhoda, and I want you guys to tell me what you think about them. So my first theory is that no one knows who Rhoda is. No one knows that he's Jabba's son, that something happened, along the way. And because obviously, Rhoda was introduced well after Return of the Jedi came out, but he's not there in Return of the Jedi. We don't see him. So no one knows who Rhoda the Hutt is. Maybe someone then figures it out, and that's that. Or we know who he is, and we find out, and he gives information because he just, he's Jabba's son. He has some connections, but people don't really know who he is. So that's theory number 1. Theory number 2 is that, obviously everyone knows who Rhoda is. He has his own little empire, but he is the absolute antithesis of Jabba in every way. Well, Jabba was I'm just going to sit back, control everything, use my, influence and power financially to just absolutely squash you. While Rhoda, he's more of the showman of, a crime lord. Like he's going to get into the ring himself and he's going to fight someone. If he feels like this bounty hunter wronged him and didn't come back with his quarry, all right, I'm just going to take you out myself. Almost kind of like in Doom 2 when they brought out what's his face? Fade Rotha would fight the last of the what's his house? The Atreides, when he was fighting the last of the Atreides and they would like drug them before they went out. Like I could see Rhoda doing something like that where he is the people's champ of his sector of space, and he has this whole thing where he drugs him up a little bit and then he goes and just rips him apart for the crowd, where it's very much like, I'm not going to be anything like my father. I'm going to run things my way. And it's very different from how the other Hutts run things. And so they kind of ostracize him a little bit. And that could be the way I think. So I think it's going to go one of those like 2 ways.
I
They
actually
think he's
could
a
see
nepo
this.
baby or something.
Yeah, I could see this being like kind of a Harkonnen like hierarchy, where I think I even saw that he's going to be called the Na Baron, or like the Na ruler of whatever, which that's also what Phaedra's like title is the Na Baron, which just means you're next in line. So he could be next in line. We know that from Legacy of Vader issue 2 and 3 that Gardula the Hutt is still out there. And she's probably like taking over the Hutt Empire. So maybe he's next in line or trying to work against her to come, get control of the Hutt Empire. So there could be some Hutt stuff going on. Who knows?
Right. And that's fascinating to me. I 100% am in support of a little bit of fun underworldy type stuff. Like it doesn't have to be sometimes I think people attribute Star Wars Underworld needs to be this like really gritty, like dark storytelling when it doesn't always have to be. Like that's not what Star Wars always has to be. If we do the Underworld, there's like a level of hilariousness that goes with it. I mean, the very first Star Wars anything Underworld we were introduced to was when you get Greedo walking into the Mos Eisley, cantina, and he's sitting there with Han Solo, and we've seen 1,000 iterations of that is at this point. And the one current one we have now is where the last word Greedo says before he gets fried after shooting first is McClunky. So it's just, there's a little bit of a goofiness that can exist in this universe. So I don't want to say that, oh, this is going to be too goofy. No, I think there's a level of the Hutts. There is like a goofiness and a quirkiness that goes on with the Hutts, and differentiating the Hutts as well could be important. And I like what Tom said, like maybe he's full Nepo baby, like classic, like if you saw a Nora, this year, and you have the son, Ivan, who is just a party boy going around causing problems. And like, could he be not wanting to take his step up in the throne because he just wants to go party and fight in the gladiator arena? And Gardula or some of their Hutts are like, what is wrong with you? Like, how can you not, step up for the family, so to speak, even though we know the Hutts are also extremely competitive.
Exactly. I think he's going to be just the worst Hutt. The Hutts aren't even going to accept him.
He's just full on rogue.
Like that's why I think I have a feeling we're going to know that people are going to know who he is, and they're going to resent him because maybe he's trying to use Jabba's clout to, I guess, try to assert his power or his empire, and the rest of the Hutts aren't having it. They don't like him. Maybe they didn't like Jabba to begin with.
This actually just turns into a coming of age story for Rotta the Hutt, where he rises up and he's like, what's the movie? He's like, oh, it's like when Jon Snow is about to go forth with the old boar beyond the wall, and he's like, you need to put aside the boy. Let the man come forth. And it's Rotta the Hutt putting aside the boy, becoming the man that he needs to be to rule the Hutt Empire. That could be, what the real story is about. And then we just have this little Mando Grogu side quest that exists. So Kathleen Kennedy mentioned Sharmino Bay-Shenoy's film, Taika Waititi's film, the Simon Kinberg trilogy, and the James Mangold film. This is all 4 in development. First, I want you to rank those in order of what you think is most likely to ever come out and be released to least likely to ever come out and be released. Okay. And I want rapid fire. Don't spend too much time on this because obviously these predictions are going to be lost into the ether of time anyway. But I'm just curious, just like off a gut reaction of the ones she did choose to mention at Celebration. Again, Charmine, Taika, Kinberg, and Mangold. Most likely to come out to least likely. How would you go with that, Tom?
I would say James Mangold is coming off of a big year with his successes with The Complete Unknown. And I think that if you trace back some of the creative differences with Disney and some of the directors, it's usually followed when that director was maybe on or had a flop or something like that, or things weren't working out and there were creative differences and the project kind of strayed away. I think James Mangold is very respected. He has a history with Lucasfilm, with Indiana Jones. And I think that he's been a very... Sorry, I think he's been a very consistent director. So I really have a feeling. I mean, it's something I really want to see because, and I think fans are really craving new stories, new characters, and timelines we haven't really explored. So I think that would be the most. As far as the least, I was gonna say the Rey film, but I think Taika's film because I think it's just felt like very kind of in the ether. They don't, we'll get to it when we get to it. I'm still writing. I'm working on it. It's a couple of years have passed, so I would love to see it. I like Taika Waititi. I like his work, but I think that to me, I think has the least likely chance of being or seeing the light of day.
Okay. So you're going Mangold, and then in the middle,
You
where are
want
you
to put the
going
rest in
between Kimber?
order? I
Yeah, where
would
are you going
say
in the middle?
Kinberg would probably be second.
Okay. Charmine,
Charm,
and
Charmine
then
would
Taika.
be, and Taika. So I would say Charmine and Taika.
Okay. All right. I can vibe with that. Luke, are you the same? Is there anything you want to differentiate from Tom there?
I'd be a little different. I know that we both have Taika Waititi last. I don't think that's ever going to be made. um, hope it does because I want more Star Wars, but I don't think it's going to reach the light of day. I think the most likely we're going to go with the new
Hey,
Jedi Order.
you're going with Charmine first.
I am. I think that they brought out Daisy for, I mean, that's the one that she's attached to, right? I think
So
that's going to
yes.
happen. Next after that would be the Kinberg trilogy. Next after that would be Dawn of Jedi for me.
Okay. Okay.
So
So you're
that's
going Sharmina Bay-Shinoy, Simon Kigberg, Mangold, and then Taika, which is interesting because I would go Kinberg, Mangold, Shinoy, Taika. So like we're all a little bit different here. And so but I want to break down like each one, like just real quick, we have a few minutes here. And we'll start with Tom's number one, with the James Mangold one. You hit on all the points, like history with Lucasfilm, and he's like the professional in the room. Like I know that this guy knows what he's doing. Like I know he's gonna get the job done. It's an original story. The reason I have it second for me personally is I feel like there's just a lot of steam that's been picking up with Kimberg from the standpoint of they announced there was Kennedy said that he's presenting a draft for like the first film, like a script draft for like the first film this summer, and they have an outline for the 3 films. So if these were to come out, I think Mangold would come out first. But if I'm just banking on one of them actually happening the most, I think I would go with Kimberg just because it came out of nowhere. It happened very fast. He also has a track record with Lucasfilm. He has the draft ready to go. It seems like there's a very clear outline for the 3 films that they are already on board with. So that's why I went there. But Mangold, like, yeah, the adult in the room, Dawn of the Jedi, I think, is a story that would appeal to a lot of people. I don't think you'd have to sell a lot of people on the origins of the Force and the Jedi. Like, I think that's something that, generally speaking, like people will be interested in. Like they described it as like the 10 commandments of the Force, so to speak. So I actually love that. And yeah, so the Charmine one, Luke, I want you to tell me why you think that the Rey film is number one, given that he's a brand new director and there have been all the writer issues with this one, over some brand new director, as in, she's never directed like a feature film like this. Not she's new to the project over the others necessarily.
I think for me, it's the leading one would be that they brought out Daisy. I don't think they'll let it slide. I don't think they'll let it go into obscurity like we've seen other ones happen. So is it going to be made next? Is it going to be made soon? That might not be the case, but I think the writers they'll get it figured out. I think that Sharmina Bay-Shinoy, like, she'll do her thing. I actually like her. I like what I've seen from her. And just like her stances on things, I do like her as a person. So I'm rooting really hard for it. That's not substantial evidence as to it's going to happen, but like,
right.
Just like, I think with it being Rey and she's like such a main character of the sequel trilogy, I think a lot of the younger generation that doesn't really have money to like vote with, or like,
right,
it's got to be their parents that are buying stuff. And so this younger generation that's maturing and grew up with the sequel trilogy, I think once they start having their own accounts on social media and stuff, and like you're going to see that Rey is
a financial
popular,
stake, like a financial stake. And
yes, I think that it
that
just makes a lot of sense to move forward with statistically like going to be
She's your most
popular
marketable
Yes.
character. Like, she's the most marketable character you
That's why I'm
have.
staking my ground there.
What I love about, and this goes back to Starfighter, Star Wars Starfighter that got announced. I think that it is the best thing for a Rey movie that that there are going to be at least 2 movies that come out in theaters before the Rey movie, because I think you want, like, kind of like what you said there, let some of the younger sequel fans get a little bit older to where they're going to be buying their own movie tickets and they're going to be getting excited for it, because let there be even more time, because time is like your ally in a lot of ways. And, with Star Wars, there's always going to be that the hateful vitriol part of the fan base. But, 2027 will be what, 8 years past, the rise of Skywalker at that point. So it's been 8 years since we've last seen Rey, and they're not going to probably, I would guess, I don't think they would do 3 Star Wars movies in a row. Bang, bang, bang. Maybe they would. I mean, maybe they would do 3 in a row, but at the very least, you're looking at a 2028, 2029 timeline probably for a Rey movie. And that puts you almost a full decade from the last time you would have seen Rey Skywalker on the big screen. And, the first one came out 2015. You're looking at, almost 15, years since she first came on the screen. Like, that's, at that point, you're getting into the gap between Revenge of the Sith and when The Force Awakens came on our screens. So I think the nostalgia factor of waiting longer, as long as you can, to bring Rey back is important, because if you can get these massive wins with original characters and original stories like the Ryan Gosling Starfighter movie, it's going to let that box office, that banked in box office hit that you probably get with the Rey movie in a decade, it's going to really, really matter and make dividends for Star Wars and the future of like Rey New Jedi Order stories, because now you're having like multiple avenues of success instead of having to just rely on, what's already worked before. Now, the downside to all of this is if, Mando and Grogu doesn't do so well and the soft launch doesn't go well and we get off to the rocky start and we're like, oh no, a new Star Wars movie doesn't hit, then you have all the eggs in the basket on the Rey movie. And then you get into the point of, will there be another Star Wars movie made, or do they completely start over the script? So we need to see the wins happen before we start counting them. But I think we're on the track to success.
I think you make a great point, Tyler, because I feel like they need to woo some fans back into the fold in a way.
Mm-hmm.
If you put, I adore Daisy Ridley. I love the character of Rey. I really feel like there's more to her story, and I'd like to see it from, I guess, another director's perspective and to see what they get her or what they give her as far as story is concerned. But I feel like as if you tweeted out or if you posted somewhere about that movie, the comments that you come up that you see, I mean, people who generally just don't like the sequel trilogy or hate it, and that's the kind stuff that you'd see. You're probably going to see a lot of stuff that's sexist, against the director and against Daisy.
Right.
So it's it's almost like they want to woo some of these people back before they deliver that film. Also, I think it also depends. I think the future of that film also depends on the future of Kathleen Kennedy at Lucasfilm. I feel like this is a pet project that she's been trying to get going. And if there's a change in the leadership there, it may drop off. So especially because you say the soonest it would come out is probably 2028. So that, that's 3 years from now. So it's interesting to see it. Now, look, do I want to see it? Of course I do. As Luke said, more Star Wars is great with me, but I feel like there's so much more for her character that we haven't seen that I would like to see, and so we'll see. Like I feel in my heart, it's going to be it's a toss up if it's going to happen.
In many ways, it feels like her journey, we leave it similarly like to Luke in Return of the Jedi, where you just can't wait to see what happens next for this character.
That is how I feel,
and that's where. And like you feel like they finally came into their own. Like they are now like this is the peak. They're in their prime. I want to see what they do in their prime. And I love Luke's arc in The Last Jedi, but I can also relate to a fan who grew up like it's if we saw Rey right now and the next Rey movie takes place, without necessarily, obviously we can't, we're not going to age up Daisy Ridley. But if we're going to launch Daisy, 40 years in the future, recast her as like an old Rey, and she's completely fallen off from the character that we saw, in the last movie. Like, yeah, absolutely. There's going to be some level of this better be explained so well. And while I love Luke's arc in The Last Jedi, I didn't grow up and see Luke in Return of the Jedi and have to wait, 30 years before I got that next Luke movie. And he's not what I was hoping or dreamed he had been for the last 30 years of fandom, with all the books and comics and legends that were written. So there is a level of, you have this almost new opportunity to do what many people wanted Luke Skywalker to become, which is the leader of the Jedi Order, launching into a golden age of the Jedi again. And yes, there's always going to be threats out there, but we have this leader that's going to bring us to through to the other side. And I think some of the frustration maybe that there is with Rey is the fact that maybe she is what we were wanting Luke to be to some degree that we never got. And then I hope they don't necessarily go that route again with Rey. Not that she can't go through hardship and mess up, because that's part of what being a human being is. But they have this chance to launch the Jedi Order in a really exciting way, and I hope they don't squander that, because like Luke, you mentioned before, Rey's extremely popular. Whatever people want to say online is here or there, but she's an extremely popular character. Is she Luke freaking Skywalker? No, but who could be? And ever again in the history of cinema, really? I mean, it's Luke Skywalker, so she's extremely popular, and I hope we get there. You think we'll ever see the Taika Waititi movie?
I just don't. I just really don't. I really liked what he did with Thor Ragnarok. That was awesome.
Excellent.
I think he also did Thor Love and Thunder, though, and
right,
not fantastic. So I think more than not, he does make good stuff. So I'm sure he would make something interesting and cool in the Star Wars universe. I don't know that he's a perfect fit for Star Wars, but like I've been saying, I think he does cool stuff. I think if he were to somehow get this through, it would be cool, and I would buy my ticket and I'd go see it. But we have no idea what it is. We haven't heard. We've heard such conflicting things about well, he's got the first third and the last third written, and then someone else will be like, well, he's got the first third and the second third written. He doesn't know how to end it, and it's so nothing's written, really. Are you lying to us? Is there anything actually? I don't think there's anything really even been completed on it.
I think he has concepts of a plan, and I think he has a general idea of kind of what he wants to do. Will we ever see the light of day on that? Maybe not. Here's an idea, and obviously I don't think Taika is the person to do this, but I feel like there's so many good ideas that are out there and they've worked with some of these Star Wars writers. Taika has history with Lucasfilm through The Mandalorian, so there's definitely a relationship there that I could definitely see this movie happening. But I wonder if, as we're pivoting to these big feature films, I wonder if they allocate some resources to doing little Disney Plus only films. Star Trek just released a Star Trek movie called Order Section 31. I haven't watched it yet. I've heard it's not very good. I've heard it's really bad, which is whatever. It probably is, but it's exclusive only to Paramount Plus. Or Netflix will have films that are exclusively only to Netflix. And I wonder if Star Wars could have we have our shows, we have certain things that are great, like Andor, Mando. But what about if we could adapt? Maybe we can't get Taika in on the big screen, but what if we do an exclusive hour and a half Disney Plus special movie? It's just a little story that he wants to tell. I don't think that's something that they should shy away from completely. I don't want Star Wars to veer that way too hard, because it's a cinematic experience, but I don't think something like that would be offensive.
The only thing I think that would deter that is the return on investment. I don't know if it would be as much as releasing it theatrically. because you figure you have a shorter time that people, oh, I'm going to just subscribe to see that, and then I'm going to cancel my subscription. So that's the only thing I think that would deter it, but I would love to see that.
So final things here before we get going. The animation panel's coming up like in a few hours, I'm pretty sure, and like 2:30 or 3:30 or something like that. I'll probably set an alarm just to wake up to see what happens, but then go right back to sleep.
I love that, man.
I have to. I can't not, but the fact that I have to teach in 7.5 hours is ridiculous. So oh my gosh, my students are gonna. I'm podcasting tomorrow with Paul for about all of this too. So, but that we're not gonna be able to record till like midnight. So it's gonna be like back to back, like super late ones. But I want to get final prediction. Like, what is your prediction? Let's assume we get the new animated Star Wars show, like a feature show. This isn't gonna be, they'll probably talk about Tales of the Underworld real quick. They might do like some other fun short that's coming out, but I'm assuming that this is going to be, what is the future of animation, the next feature, animated show that we've had since the Bad Batch. What is your final predictions of what that's going to be before we get the announcement here in a few hours?
I can tell you what I'd love to see. I'd love to see a What If Star Wars series.
Okay.
And animation is probably the best place to do that, honestly.
Yeah, totally. Just the Marvel one. I haven't seen the last season. I heard it wasn't as good, but the first one was really cool.
I did watch the first season of that, and I enjoyed it.
I did like the first season. I haven't watched a lot of the Marvel stuff, but I need to.
I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring and say they're gonna have this new ongoing series that is going to be. They're not going to go crazy with the time period. I think they're going to keep it between somewhere. I know it's 19 years, somewhere between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. But it will be a new cast of new characters. Maybe.
No,
No, it'll be good. It'll be amazing, actually.
How do you feel about that, Tyler?
It'll be like around the Solo time period.
No. Luke, you've lost me. Me. We have Star Wars Rebels,
and this is
we need another one. But like we need another one in that same time period. We just have Bad Batch, post Clone Wars. We have Star Wars Rebels that leads us into like the Battle of Yavin to some degree because the rebellion's coming together on Yavin, and we're gonna do another one.
Yeah, I think that's what they're gonna do.
I so hope you're wrong. Like I cannot hope, even like beyond hope, that is not happening. And because I think they have the perfect opportunity to take a massive like swing in animation. They have built up so much goodwill. Like Rebels is beloved at this point. Clone Wars season 7 was a major hit. The Bad Batch grew its audience in its 3 seasons. Like the Bad Batch fan base grew, and that was like a big success for them to get 3 seasons out of that show and for it to be as beloved as I believe that it is. And from what we've read and what we've heard around that show, like that audience for it grew. Star Wars Visions has been a really big success for them. It's not, they go to other animation studios for some of those things, but it's still under the umbrella of, we're putting this on Disney Plus as Star Wars animation. Tales of the Jedi is everyone loves Tales of the Jedi. The Count Dooku arc is so good. They have built up so much goodwill that they can come out here and say, we're going to do a Jedi Order show post Rise of Skywalker. And they have enough goodwill built in for people to be really excited for that and be willing to see what happens. They have enough goodwill built up to say, here's your Old Republic animated show. And they could do some wicked stuff there. High Republic animated show. Luke, Ben, Solo, Jedi Order. Like these to me are big swings that need to happen. They are stories that are ripe for the telling in Star Wars that would be completely fresh. And you know what? If you swing and you miss, so be it, because you've built up that goodwill. The reason you build that up is so you can cash in on something that could be your next, 6-7 season Clone Wars show. And I really think that that this is the opportunity to do that, because you have no live action shows that are really coming out after Andor. Like, you're gonna have Ahsoka that films this summer that comes out like maybe like next fall, but there's a lot of space that exists in the Star Wars fandom for a big animated show, considering we're pivoting more towards film. So why not take that big swing? What I'm worried about is they're gonna say, all right, we have our loyal animated fan base, we're just gonna keep consolidating that and do like kind of what you said, another like, here's the rebellion,
Cloud Riders,
or here's like crime syndicates, like let's bring Sam Witwer back and we do kind of a solo, pick up where Solo left off, but do it animated with Crimson Dawn. I'd be interested, I would watch, but I'm not, that's not dropping my jaw going, oh my goodness, this is the next big thing in Star Wars animation. And like Oscar Tecolote says here, he's with you, Luke, like a Clone Rebel story set during the dawn of the dark times. I'd watch. I'm sure that I would enjoy the show, but that's not a groundbreaking Star Wars concept to me. Like, we've seen so much of the clones. We've seen so much of the rebellion. Take your swing. Call your shots. Like, this is your chance. And we're sitting at what, 20-year anniversary of Clone Wars. Like, Clone Wars is timeless. It's going to exist forever, and we're going to love it and talk about it forever. And Ashley Eckstein and Matt Lanter and everybody are going to get together, and D. Bradley Baker. They're all going to get together 20 years from now and talk about the 40-year anniversary of Clone Wars and how amazing it is. What's the next Clone Wars? It's been a long time. Like, what is the next groundbreaking Star Wars show going to be? Like, it feels like this would be a great moment for that. And you're in Japan, of all places, too, with, what anime and like animation in general means over there. Like, what a perfect place to announce what that's going to be. But I think you're probably right, though. It's probably gonna play it safe and do something like that. But it's fine. They're playing a Andor trailer right now on the live stage, and a couple of cool little shots here. I don't think I've seen this TV spot before, personally, but they may have been one that they just
watching the TV spots. I don't want to know what's in the show.
I'm with you, Luke. I agree.
I saw the trailer. Maybe like I maybe watched the second trailer. I haven't really kept up with anything like on purpose, kind of, because I want to be fresh.
Yeah.
There was the one that dropped, I think, was it yesterday, with the Cassian was breaking out like with the TIE Fighter. I didn't watch that one because I'm like, oh, I want to save that one for next Tuesday, because that's probably going to be, if they're dropping that whole little clip, that's probably going to be in the first 3 episodes next week. So I'm guessing that. But any other little celebration tidbits? I'm curious to see if what they say about Ahsoka season 2, because they've said he's going after Japan. He's going straight back, and they're filming season 2, which we pretty much knew was happening this summer. But do you think there's any chance they'll drop any fun little tidbits for what the direction of that season is? Oh my gosh, Ashley's on stage now. Just God bless that woman. I love her so much. I would die for Ashley Eckstein.
I'm
just
not trying to derail,
jumping in front of a bullet for her. All right.
I do think I'm a little bit more excited for the publishing initiative. Well, the publishing panel. I like reading a lot. I like my comics a lot. I'm just that deep. So I'm excited to see what they have that they're going to announce. There's a manga panel. So cool. I'm kind of confused by that. I'm interested to see what in the world they have to announce there. But the publishing panel, I'm really excited to see myself what kind of books are in store for the future.
Because we're ending. It's the end of an era.
With the High Republic era.
Like, how are they going to balance that in the panel of this is the end of the High Republic? We have the Vader novel.
Maybe
are they going to announce? Like, are they going to announce a new initiative, or is it just going to kind of keep it there? Tom, what Ahsoka season 2? Do you think we're going to get too much into like where we're going here and some interesting stuff, or do you think he's going to keep it super like brief? Like, we just start filming and let's talk about season 1.
Well, one thing that I really want to know is how it's going to tie into the story that begun at the end of Ahsoka season 1 with Thrawn returning, going to Dathomir. I want to see how season 2 of Ahsoka is going to tie into the Mandalorian and Grogu, because it's around the same time period. So I'm curious to see how they, if they're going to touch on how they're related and how they're going to. I'm sure there are going to be tie-ins in the movie to Ahsoka season 2,
right?
And then it'll probably come out after the movie at some point next year. So that's the big thing I'm looking forward to. They already announced that they're replacing the actor Ray Winstone, who played Balin Skull, my favorite character, I think, from season 1. Such an intriguing character. So I hope they. I forget who the actor is that they replaced him with, but I hope that they bring him out, possibly there, and go over that. And I want to see what's next for Balin Skull, because they left on such an interesting, I guess, cliffhanger, literally. And because they recast him, it means that there's more to his story to tell. So I'm excited if you have any tidbits about that.
I missed the idea.
Rory McCann is the guy that is going to probably, we think that's been confirmed to play Balin Skull, which it really excites me. I really hope that Dave gives us just a little bit for what the story is going to hold. Not necessarily like, this is who's going to show up and this is what's going to happen. But, Dave is a Star Wars nerd. Like he's truly a Star Wars nerd, Filoni. And I would love to maybe hear him nerd out a little bit. Just give it, like, not necessarily to be much, just a little bit of what we saw at the end there on Peridia. What could that mean? Like, what kind of a journey is Balin on? What could Ahsoka and Sabine get themselves into? Or what kind of a role will Anakin have now that, he's appeared again, like he's appeared as a Force ghost there at the end? Like, not that he needs to get into, this is the plot, we're going to, like, obviously, and he's not going to do that this far away from the show, but just, little tidbits of where each character might be at this point moving forward. Like that, I don't think you're hurting anyone by saying, like, this is the launch point and there's a couple fun things that you want to keep in mind before we move on. Like, I think that's perfectly fine. Granted, he probably won't say anything at all. We're just going to reflect on season 1, but at least, like you said, bring Rory McCann out. I think that would be a big thing. Luke, you mentioned the publishing panel. What publishing initiative would you love to see? Personally, like, I would love to see something post Rise of Skywalker, but is there an initiative that, like, if they were to say, we just finished the High Republic, this overarching thing, now we're going to do this series?
As much as I would really love something post Rise of Skywalker, I do like that they are pushing all their chips for that era into live action stuff. I think that's the correct call to make. I think what I would want from publishing is for them to go, all right, so you guys ate up High Republic. That's 200 years before the movies. What about 4,000 years before the movies? What if we did canonized Old Republic 10-book series or something, like 5 comic runs, something that's like not as big as the High Republic, which was, this is going to end up being 30 books. Like, let's
over 30, I think.
Let's keep it to something like, not 30,
more
but like
palatable.
maybe 10. Yeah. Like, I think I'd love some Old Republic, or maybe create a new era that has a name. Like,
another new era.
That's my thing about publishing, is you can do, there's literally no limit on what you can do inside of a book. It can cover anything. The mind is your limit. So, like, make up something that doesn't exist at all. Go for it. Swing huge.
So you're willing to swing huge here with the publishing initiative, but for your swings here for animation, we have to do another, Rebel story set,
yes,
in between
you do.
3 and 4. Okay.
Yes, you do.
So I agree with you on the big swing. Personally, like, I want to see them really expand on characters that I already know about, because we just had this whole new initiative with these new characters in the High Republic. So maybe give me some of those stories of between episodes 8 and 9, because there is that year gap, and the Resistance went from, there's like 10 of them that survive on Crate to, you have a really large size Resistance that has sprung up in episode 9, and you could tell like adventures with Rey and Poe and Finn and how they built up the Resistance. There's a great Claudia Gray Princess Leia novel waiting to be told, in the heart of the Resistance era. We got her, and we got a Bloodline story, like there's a great Claudia Gray Leia novel that's ready to be told in between episodes 8 and 9 of how she's training Rey. Like there are just so many pivotal stories that are just like ready and ripe for the telling right there. And similar to how Clone Wars helped flesh out that time, like this would be a great time to get some of those books out to help flesh out the sequel era. Give those sequel fans more to chomp into, like what encounters, because there is no limit to how many times Rey and Kylo could have interacted since the rise of, or since the Last Jedi. I mean, it doesn't really say they never saw each other since then. It pretty much, she says, I wanted to take your hand, Ben's hand, in The Rise of Skywalker, which implies that maybe they haven't spent any time together, but it's very possible they had a confrontation. You could easily work that in. If they can create an Obi-Wan Kenobi show where Obi-Wan and, Vader fight again after, and just kind of rework it, they can easily do that in a book that, not a ton of people are going to read, but take some big swings in that era. Like, let's flesh out Finn, Poe, Rey. Your man Snap Wexley can have his own book as well. But Tom, if you were, I know that you've said that you're a little bit behind in terms of like the High Republic initiative, but you're someone that has partaken in a lot of Star Wars books, especially like these Legends books before. So if you're wanting to maybe dive into a new era of publishing, which this might be the perfect time to do that, where would you maybe want to dip your toes into first?
I would love a follow-up, or maybe going back about Darth Plagueis. I love that novel, and maybe going back and maybe some of the story between what we saw in The Acolyte to up to the Phantom Menace.
Would love
that would be really cool.
Absolutely.
And I would, talking about, there's so many great stories for the pickings. I would love to see some of that translated to animation too, because one of my favorite books was Lost Stars.
Stop nodding your head, Luke.
I would love to see some of those translated to maybe like they have the, I guess, Tales of the Jedi mini series, something like that, where they take one of the anime or one of the published books. I think a lot of fans have missed out that don't really keep up with the books. They've missed out on the High Republic. Why can't we translate some of those to animation, as you said earlier?
That's such a great point. We've mentioned that before, like how I think it's such an easy win if you were to take a book, like a popular book or a little series, and you do just a little 45-minute, 1 hour little animated specials and have those stories out there. Lost Stars, you mentioned Lost Stars. I mean, that's on my S tier of Star Wars novels. Seems like it's on, I know it's on Luke's. Seems like it's on yours as well, Tom. Like that's just a beautiful Star Wars story that you could tell. Like I've given that book to a student before, and they're like, I don't like Star Wars. I'm like, this is Star Wars, but they're like, I don't know anything about Luke Skywalker. Like, you don't have to. You don't have to know anything about Star Wars to really dive into Lost Stars. It's just a fun story that is just this beautiful, heartfelt love story that's at Rebel Empire. So that would be awesome if we saw more of those. But what a night for Star Wars. We're at an hour and a half. I have to end this now. I honestly could sit here for another hour and talk about Star Wars tonight. This has been such a great day for Star Wars, but I have to, unfortunately, we, all three of us have to go to work tomorrow. We're not in Japan where we can just, sit back and watch the live stage and get ready for our next panel. But Star Wars Starfighter in theaters in 771 days and 30 minutes. I'll say it's 770 days away. Ryan Gosling, Sean Levy, May 28th, 2027, 50th anniversary film. Mando and Grogu. We had Mando and Zeb together. We didn't even really talk much about Mando and Zeb. That's awesome to talk about. We'll have plenty of that Sigourney Weaver is going to be wearing Star Wars flight suits. We have an animation panel coming up. Rotta the Hutt. Like, there is so much going on in the Star Wars world. And guess what, guys? We are just like 4 days away. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 2 days away, 5 days away from Andor Season 2. We talked about Star Wars tonight for an hour and a half. Didn't even mention Andor Season 2. Next Thursday night, Star Wars Newsnet Live. Tune in because we'll be breaking down the first 3 episodes of Andor, giving all of our thoughts, takeaways from that. In addition, Luke and I will be recording the next episode of the Timeline Show at some point in the next 72 hours. We'll be talking about Tempest Runner. It'll be episode 48 of the Star Wars Newsnet Timeline Show, going through every single thing that has ever been made in Star Wars. That is what Luke and I's journey is right now. We're about to be 48 episodes in. Like I said before, I'm recording a podcast with my good friend Paul. Some of you know him from previous streams. He also does a Star Wars show called Saga Continues and his own comic channel called The Comic Binge. I guarantee you, Paul has some hot takes that I will 100% disagree with, and we will go to war tomorrow in a beautiful, beautiful way.
Yeah.
I'm so thrilled for that. It's always a fun hour of my month. Tom, you are the GOAT. Luke, I hope you're wrong about animation, but I love you anyway, and everything else you said tonight was absolute gold. I love you so much. Thanks for hopping in for an hour and a half. Until next time, everyone, for Light and Life, remember, more than ever, that we are all the Republic.
I'm going to be Rhoda.